For about 75 years now, the relationship between the United States and Pakistan has been, well, a geopolitical roller coaster. It's an incredible story of high-stakes alliances, really bitter betrayals, and a connection that, for all its problems, neither side can seem to walk away from. So in this explainer, we're going to figure out exactly why they're locked in this complicated embrace.
You know, if you had to boil it down to 3 words, it's these: crisis, cooperation, and mistrust. It's this weird mix, right? At times, they've been absolutely essential partners, especially during the Cold War and right after 9/11. But then, at other times, their alliance has just been hanging on by a thread. It's not really a friendship. It's more like a very, very complicated codependency.
And that really gets us to the heart of the matter. With all this history, all this baggage and friction, why can't they just call it quits? Why the no exit? To really get our heads around this, we're going to lean on some serious expertise.
Yeah, to help us navigate this, we're relying on the work of Dr. Daniel S. Markey. And look, this is someone who really knows what he's talking about. We're talking a PhD from Princeton, but also hands-on experience at the U.S. State Department. So he's seen this whole thing from the ivory tower and from inside the government. His analysis is really our roadmap here.
Okay, so the core idea that Dr. Markey brings to the table is this concept of mutual vulnerability. It's not about friendship or, shared values. It really comes down to a cold, hard fact. What happens in Pakistan directly and seriously impacts the United States, and the reverse is true as well. And this is where that whole codependency thing becomes crystal clear. Look, on one side, you have Pakistan dealing with huge internal challenges, a shaky economy, political unrest, you name it. And on the other side, the U.S. has these core national security concerns that are tied directly to Pakistan's stability. Things like terrorism, the security of nuclear weapons, and of course, the big strategic chess game with China and India. Put simply, Pakistan's problems have a way of becoming America's nightmares.
To really get why things are so tense now, we've got to look back. This is not a new problem. This entire relationship was built on a foundation of shaky, what you might call transactional deals. And that's created this deep, deep legacy of mistrust, especially from the Pakistani side.
The pattern is it's painful and it's obvious. From the 50s through the 80s, Pakistan was a critical Cold War ally against the Soviets. But the moment the Soviets left Afghanistan, boom, the 1990s became a decade of American neglect. Then 9/11 happens, and all of a sudden, Pakistan is a vital partner again. This isn't how you build a stable partnership. It's a cycle of alliance and then abandonment.
And this quote from Dr. Markey's research just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the feeling on the ground in Pakistan. A fair-weather friend. Someone who's only around when they need you and then disappears as soon as the storm passes. That feeling runs deep.
So let's break that down. Why is that feeling so common? Well, from their perspective, U.S. policy seems totally reactive. It's driven by what's happening in Afghanistan or some other crisis, not by a real interest in Pakistan itself. They point to a long history of Washington backing unelected military dictators instead of democratic governments. And they ask a pretty fair question. Where have the billions of dollars in aid actually gone? Because it rarely seems to trickle down to the average person.
So, given this really broken history, what's the path forward? Dr. Markey argues for a totally new playbook. He says it's time to ditch that short-sighted, transactional model and move towards something that's genuinely strategic.
The old way was all about transactions, short-term security goals, military-first cooperation. It was always just reacting to the latest crisis. The proposed new approach? It's strategic. It's about playing the long game, investing in Pakistan's internal stability, in its people and its institutions, to build a proactive, real partnership.
And that's really the heart of the critique, isn't it? Just focusing on military and intelligence cooperation might put a patch on an immediate security threat, but it does absolutely nothing to fix the underlying instability that creates those threats to begin with. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a deep wound.
So what does a real long-term solution look like? Well, it means a real commitment to the people of Pakistan. We're talking about investing in education, in healthcare, in infrastructure. It's about helping to build a modern economy through things like industrialization and IT. That's how you get beyond the quick fixes and actually build a foundation for a stable future.
Now, this is another really crucial point from the analysis. Let's be honest, Pakistan's democracy can be messy, and its governments are often flawed. But the argument is that supporting that imperfect democratic process is far less dangerous in the long run than propping up another military regime. Real, lasting stability, that has to come from the people themselves.
But what if the solution isn't just about the US and Pakistan? Here's where Dr. Markey's proposal gets really ambitious. He suggests that if this relationship can't be fixed in a vacuum, then maybe it's time to bring more players to the table. He calls it the four-power future. The four key players in this new framework would be the United States, China, India, and Pakistan. The idea is to create a kind of quadrilateral dialogue where all four of the major stakeholders in the region can actually work together to manage conflicts and ensure stability. It's a huge shift from a volatile two-way street to a much more stable four-way intersection.
And let me tell you, the stakes could not be higher. We are talking about four of the world's most populous countries. Every single one of them has nuclear weapons, and they all have deeply conflicting interests right in the same, very volatile part of the world. The potential for disaster is massive, but so is the potential for a managed, lasting peace.
Which really leaves us with this final powerful question. It is the ultimate challenge. Can these historic rivals, each with their own powerful agenda, find enough common ground to actually cooperate and step back from the brink? The answer to that question could very well define global security for the rest of the 21st century.